I'll be going through the answers quickly, so make sure your course book is open and in front of you. And please stop and rewind the video as you need to. So, got your book open in front of you? Are your answers in capitals? Want to know why the answers are the answers? Then let's go. For question number 1, the important thing here is to understand the context of the first 2 sentences, and it explains 2 reasons why we don't collect souvenirs. First sentence gives you the first reason, the second sentence gives you the second reasons, but it's the structure that connects these 2 sentences which is important, and of course that's where our gap is. So what do we need here? We need an auxiliary verb which plays the role of emphasizing the message. There are auxiliary verbs that emphasize messages. Typically, that verb is a form of do, and that's exactly what we need in this sentence. Nor do we collect them for practical reasons. Question number 2 continues the idea in question number 1, nor do we collect them for practical reasons, but then straight away we're given a contrast. And that contrast is, well, there is possibly a practical reason, and that practical reason is to decorate or something like that. So there's a comparative form going on here, and that comparative form has got than. So what is the missing word? The missing word of the comparative is other than to do something. Question number 3 is basically an expression. If you don't know this vocabulary, then make sure you know it now, because it's a great way to summarize a point. It's a great way just to get down to the meat and bones of an issue. When it comes to it, you can also hear variations of that expression. When it comes down to it is the same thing. But here the answer is it. For question number 4, question number 5, we're going to have a look at these together. First of all, we're going to have a look at question number 5. And this is an expression I'm sure that you know and you've got this answer correct. And that is to have something in common. So here for number 5, the answer is in. Now, let's have a look at the whole thing together and work out what the answer is for question number 4. We can see that the most important part of the sentence is the bit that continues after is. That for them, the object acquires ... So why can't we just say that in a normal way? Why are we using this particular structure? Well, if you want to know why, then I'd ask you to get onto Google, to consult a good grammar book, and to look up both cleft sentences and to look up grammar expletives. If you look up cleft sentences and grammar expletives, this will cover an area of grammar which isn't covered that well at this level of your English language education. In fact, it might not have been covered at all, although I'm pretty sure this book does indeed have a look at cleft sentences. But if you don't know what cleft sentences are, and you don't know what grammar expletives are, then by finding out what they are, you'll work out what the answer is to this question. And that is, the answer is what. But what both sets of travellers have in common is ... For question number 6, the important thing here is the context. If we have a look at the context, we can see that it's talking about previous regrets about actions that they did, something that they wish that they hadn't done. So straight away we're talking about hypotheticals, past hypotheticals, which means that we should be thinking of verbs connected to modal verbs connected to the area of past hypotheticals. And if we think about those, we will come very quickly to the conclusion that there's only one possible answer that could fit this gap, and that is could. For question number 7, what's going on here is that this person is explaining a certain circumstance. If we're explaining something, then there's one relative pronoun that helps us explain something, and that is why. And that's exactly what the answer is here. I don't know why it should be. In other words, I can't explain that. So that's why the answer is why. For question number 8, once again, let's have a look at the context. And the context for this gap says he goes looking for glass paintings almost as it would be the case if he were hunting for treasure. So we're comparing two things together. Now, in terms of comparing, and you see the preposition as, you're always going to have two possible options. You're either going to say as if or as though. And these are the two possible options for this question.